All right, cool. Welcome back once again to the Cult of Personality podcast, season 6, episode 3, I think. And we are here with a very special guest today. We are here with Ghostsocial. How are you doing
Yo,
today?
I'm doing pretty good, honestly. This has been my first off day in like 4 days. I can't lie. I slept up until about like 30 minutes ago. So I'm feeling pretty good today. I've just been
Fresh,
like not doing shit.
fresh off the wake up.
Right.
No grinding to the capitalism today.
No grinding today, dude.
No, that's good, man. I'm glad that you got a day, you're getting a day of rest, and I'm glad that we have this moment to talk and
Right.
talk about you. I'm excited to get into this.
No, I'm excited, man.
So we met about a month ago at the night shift show hosted by Hyperpop NYC. Shout out Bennett and
Yo, shout out, Bennett.
everything. Um, and of course I really fucked with your act. I really fucked with your stage presence. I really fucked with, your music. And I was like, we should exchange socials and keep in touch. So this is gonna be dope. It's gonna be cool. What I like about you specifically is that at the end of your performance, you talk about trans rights and you talk about also on
Yes.
your socials, you talk about like shit that matters. And I think we need more of that in music. So, I gravitate towards you on that
Yeah.
level.
Yeah,
What
no,
what
definitely.
what drives you to put the meaning in the music or just to care like, carry yourself in such a way? Because I feel like people are so scared nowadays to be like outspoken.
Yeah, no, I mean, definitely. A lot of it for me, myself, I've, you know, since I was like 16, I like came out as non-binary, right? Pretty much almost half my life at this point, I've been an out and visible queer person. And, the past year, I've been going through my own kind of journey as far as transitioning. I'm a year on HRT, I think, last month.
Mm-hmm.
So, and coming from the city that I come from, in the area I come from pretty much the Bible Belt. I come from Mobile, Alabama. Shout out Mobile,
Mm.
Alabama. But it is it's a very southern city. I come from a area that's maybe not very welcoming. Maybe not all people. There are very welcoming circles and communities here, but for the most part, I would say it is kind of a space where you're someone like me, you're trans, queer, coming out of it, you feel almost, like alone in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of artists, at least that I see in, trans and queer circles, almost feel a duty to be outspoken. Like I feel almost like I would be doing a disservice if I was not outspoken on these issues as a trans artist, as someone that has like dealt with homophobia, transphobia, like bigotry. Like I feel like almost couldn't not speak on it.
No, yeah. And I think that's so important. Obviously, when it comes to like honestly, yeah. Like that's what I could only imagine. That's like, sorry, I'm rambling. I have so many thoughts. The
You're
driving
good.
factor of being in it, being the minority really sets it off. Like I relate to being non-binary and shit, bro. Like you really got to speak about that shit because the fact that I don't know. Queer people have been here since the beginning of time, and the fact that we're still facing discrimination on such a widespread level, on such a facilitated level, like even by the government, is insane.
Right.
So it's so important. It's so very important. So kudos to you. Thank you so much for doing so.
And I think also in a way, I feel like almost as artists, as people that are like putting out, whether it's, music, movie, media, whatever medium of art that you find, I almost feel like this is like the opportunity to like present an authentic identity, to present these are what trans voices sound like. This is what trans love and beauty looks like. This is what we're pushing forward, and this is kind of like it's almost like just putting your best face forward and kind of just using your platform. I think that's the biggest thing. If any
Yeah,
takeaway is that regardless of your cause belief, I think using your platform is the best thing you can do.
especially with the rise of independent media like the internet and stuff like that. Like you no longer have to like appeal to a record label or a quota. So like
Right.
really you really utilize your platform to exactly put these things out there. That's gangster. I fuck with that.
Yeah.
But growing up in Alabama, how was that like?
So it's kind of weird to talk about, because I think when you do mention or really any southern state but Alabama, people do kind of imagine
That's a
like
controversial one.
It's like they imagine like a trailer park kind of in the middle of nowhere. The
Yeah.
city that I was born and raised in, I was born and raised in Mobile. It is more of we're a port city. So I kind of grew up in this weird thing of like it's a city, but there's no transit. There's not a lot to do. The city that I'm in, I think our population is like, I think for the entire like county is like 300,000 or 400,000, right? So there's no real music. There's underground shows and communities, but as far as like a large music scene, not really.
Right.
It kind of was I guess like a culture shock is the biggest thing I can say is like traveling outside of my city like the older I've gotten because growing up, growing up from where I came from, it's a lot of it's just kind of a lot of boring. I mean that's the best way I could describe it. I think anybody, whether it's you're in the Midwest or you're South, wherever it is, you're in a small town, you kind of you find ways to entertain yourself. You find ways to, you're on the internet, you're pushing your music on the internet, you're doing whatever you do on the internet because you just don't feel that space in person.
Yeah. And it's crazy how like widespread I think that is across America because I feel like it feels like there's so many like hubs or centers where people link up and do real life shit, but there's like a couple mainstream cities that are like that, like New York, LA, whatever,
Yeah,
Miami. And then it's like the rest of America literally is like that. Like I was like for my teenagehood, I was in upstate New York and I had to do the same shit because there's nothing up there. And you would think, oh, you're so close to New York City.
right.
No. No, it's just and it's cool, but it's cool. I respect that, especially like again with the voice you put out from the fucking again a Bible, but like the way you portrayed it is just so like I feel like poetic. It's like, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
talking about this, I'm putting this out here, this is me, this is my existence. I'm in the fucking Bible Belt, Alabama. Like, oh shit.
yeah, and I think a lot of it, to anybody that's in like a small town or city, it really is about finding community. And now, I'm doing more shows and I'm doing more things in my city. I am finding, a community of, like awesome people. But, for the majority of like, I was 15, 16, 17 putting out music, anyone can relate to it. You find that community online. You kind
Right.
of seek out, people with mutual, interests and understandings of life. A lot of it just kind of like culminated in the music that I make because it just was trying to find a community.
Yeah. And so I think that's dope because I think this whole conversation is cool, and I think I resonate with you a lot because I'm a very community oriented person as well, especially with the whole pod. So when it comes to you talking about this really affecting your lyrics, affecting, kind of just the whole vibe of what is Ghost Social, is really cool. Usually I like these conversations to somehow reflect the artist in a very natural, organic, kind of rambly way. And I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. That's a perfect I think that we captured that really well. Which makes me want to transition into like the meat and cheese of the interview, like the real trademark question, because then we could just snap off from here and really get into it.
Yeah.
So you've probably seen it before. It goes a little like this. Go social, the name, the image, the aura, and the energy, how did it start, how did we get here, and everything in between. Kind of like the whole origin story.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I'll start as far as the name. It's kind of a funny story because the when I was 16, I was trying to think of like a name for like my Instagram and my Cash App, which sounds kind of funny. I was trying to find like a username that I could use because every username I had up until that point was like something really like cringe or like, it was just like random. So I was like, I want to find like a new username because at the time I made like music, but it was like kind of meme music. Like I didn't take it serious whatsoever.
Right.
So I was like, oh, what if I put like antisocial in all caps? And I was like, actually, that doesn't really sound. I was like, yeah, it doesn't really have a ring to it. So I was like, okay, the idea of like ghosting someone or like you ghost something to like disappear from something. So I was like, ghost social sounds pretty cool. And the meaning it had to me, at the time was like, I was a pretty antisocial kid like growing up. I was homeschooled, right? Pretty much my entire life. So I was like, I related to it pretty much at the time. So I was like, yeah, Go Social is like a cool name. I think the first place that I had the name was like Cash App and Instagram. And then I like got more into music and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna use this on like SoundCloud, Spotify. And that's when
Yo,
that's why I took it more serious.
that's crazy. That's dope though, because I feel you. Like it really, even like coming up with the alias before coming up with like the music and shit. Like I get that, but
Yeah.
that's really cool because Antisocial, I feel like it had such a buzz, especially like in the SoundCloud 2017 era, like
Yep. Yep.
Antisocial, Social Club shit. And
Yeah.
and you know, you caught that same vibe, but like you still put your own twang on it, and I think that's sick. And that's really cool. So when you started as Ghost Social and you're like, all right, this is my name. I'm a little introverted. You talk, and I want to talk about being homeschooled. What was that like? Like, how did you really are like coming like, bro, like when it comes to making a scene through the internet, that really is like your forte. Like, cause you're coming from like you don't have like a common ground. Like, cause you know, I feel like most people meet people in school and stuff. That's
Right. Right.
completely wiped. So like, how was that like before we continue on?
So being homeschooled for me was pretty much like it was 50% like doing, like online schooling. One smaller like cover school I went to, you get like packets of books so you'd have to like send back. So in a way it was kind of like a school experience. Um,
Right,
but another half of it was like I was pretty much raised on the internet, right? Like when I wasn't doing school, which was like most of the time, I
right.
would be like on the internet. I'd be watching like YouTube. I'd be on Reddit. I'd be on like Twitter, Instagram. I would be scrolling like video game forums or like, doing whatever I was doing at the time. That's how I really got into making me music at first, was just like being on the internet. Um,
Yeah.
like it was just, it was kind of like that. Like I think a big part of me being so like at the time like tapped into like the music and the internet shit was pretty much just being homeschooled, right?
Yeah. It's yeah, that makes sense. The homeschool, like, yeah. It's funny because I went to public school and I still ended up that way. I did my toes in
Yeah.
the meme music because I wanted to be like Filthy Frank, like real incel core
Yes,
shit, you
bro.
know? So I feel you on that one. And that's cool because the next question I was gonna ask is like, what vibe were you going for when you started as Go Social? You mentioned the meme music, but the Go Social and its antisocial introverted vibe makes me feel like there was also like maybe some other underlying tone there. But when it comes to the origins of the music, like what were you going for and how did it transition kind of to where you are now?
So starting out, I was very inspired by a couple of artists that I'll name real quick. I was really inspired by shout out Shinigami, um, 93 Feet of Smoke, Fatse, Garden, Convoke. Like those were all the people that I was really inspired by. And that was like I had found those artists through like, like many other people, like I found like X, like Peep, like, that whole like the emo rap scene at the time. So
Right.
that's very much where my music was coming from. I made this song in 2019 called Quarantine. That was like, it was like a minute long. I like pitched my vocals up on it. And I remember I was like, okay, this is probably the best song I made. And I just want to like find my sound. Like pretty much what at the time I was just trying to find my sound. So I dropped like two songs a month at a certain point. Like I think I dropped a whole like album that I made in like a week. Because
Real shit.
I didn't really know what I was doing. Like I would send like songs on like Discord servers, or like I would send them to like my friends, or I would like post them on Instagram. Like I was really just trying to like figure out what I was doing with music.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel you on that one, you know, really just like experimenting and stuff. So, and it's cool because when you talk about influences and stuff, you mentioned a lot of like alternative, like the emo rap, and then a lot of like ambient alternative. Like a lot of the artists seen in the beginning were like real like low key, I feel like compared to like X and Peep and stuff, you know? And
Yeah.
so starting as Go Social and moving away from how did you go from the meme music to that like sound to those influences and stuff like that?
So like you kind of mentioned of like Filthy Frank and like those people, like trying to think more people like Lil Boom, like all the, like the people at the time that were doing like that kind of like meme stuff.
Right.
Um, I always had kind of had the same influences. It's like I would listen to like X, Peep, like, Convo, like those people. That's the music that I really loved. And I wanted to make stuff that was more,
Right.
serious and emotional, but I didn't really think I could like do it. Like I was kind of in this headspace of like, I'm not an artist. Like I'm just making like music for fun. And then like, 20, like late 2018, 2019, I was like, actually, I want to make something that's like truer to me. I want to make music about, what's going on around me, how I feel, because the me music is fun to make, but it didn't feel rewarding in any way. It didn't feel like, it was something like my friends could laugh at and random people could laugh at, but it wasn't meaningful in any way to me.
Right,
So I think
right.
that's kind of where the shift really happened. And then, quarantine, like COVID, everything else happened. And, I was like, I think I'm just going to lock in.
Nice. Yeah, perfect time. I feel like COVID was like the perfect time for so many artists to really get their grip on where they want to go. So that's sick. When it comes to that transitional time period between 2019 and 2020, did you like harbor much of a fan base like with the meme music or like even moving towards the, alternative sound and such?
I think at the time on the account that I had, I probably had like 80 followers, like doing
Okay.
like the meme stuff. So it was like a few people here and there. It was mostly just like friends, and I had like a meme page at the time. So it was like, people from that. It wasn't really
Very much the
anything
era.
serious. Yeah. And then when I transitioned more into, like more serious music, I remember finding it was the Techie server. And then there was this if anyone's familiar with Overcast, they used to do like music videos and stuff. And some of a lot of those people like Tommy and them are still working on videos today, but they used to have like a group called Overcast. I joined that server because they did a garden music video that I saw
Mm,
on I can't remember what channel. It might have been it wasn't Sad Chill. It was one of those channels that would host music videos.
yeah.
And I like found it through there. And I think that's when the fan base kind of transitioned, because at that point I was just meeting other artists, working with other artists, and like kind of sharing my music in like a public space that I didn't know existed before.
Yeah. That's really cool. Again, like going back to the internet and community, and I think that's so important and so cool. Um, and speaking of which, I just wanted to ask also, hold on, I had two questions, so I'm kind of brain farting right now.
No, you're
But
good.
damn, give me 1 second. When it comes to then, yeah, so now talking about moving into these Discords and, obviously the Discord of whatever channel that hosted said music video, um, what kind of sound were you making really when it came to like being influenced by artists like 93 Feet of Smoke and people like that, Shinigami and stuff like that? Like, were you kind of going for like, what were you really going for that sound? Because then I want to talk about how you transitioned from that sound to then where you are now, and then we'll move forward and talk about something else.
So at the time I was really, starting out, like honestly, I'll say it, I pretty much would like listen to artists I really liked, and I was like, I think I can make something kind of like this. Like I would try to add like a spin on it. As far as like pitching up the vocals, even going into like, the hyper pop shit. Shinigami really inspired that, like kind of doing like a double take of the vocal, having one pitched up.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like all my songs were like really, really short. A lot of that was like, Peep X, like a lot of them at the time, a lot of the songs I listened to were like, 90 seconds long, 2 minutes long.
Right.
And a lot of the music I made, I literally just wore like my influences on my sleeve. Like I would make a song over like 808s and like guitars, because I was so obsessed with like that sound and everyone that was like in that space. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I was at the time. And I think where my sound really changed is when I like honestly started listening to more music. I took more time to release a song. I would spend 5 6 days on a song as opposed to like 2 hours. When I started actually working with producers and not just like finding a tight beat, that's really when I think my sound kind of changed, when I actually started taking those steps.
Yeah, and really individualizing the sound rather than kind of like, I feel you
Yeah.
on that one. I got so sick and tired. Hold on, I have a little bit of like a burp. Okay. I got so sick and tired of the type beats on YouTube and stuff that like I really was like, yo, I'm gonna learn or reteach myself because I learned a little bit when I was younger, but like learn the guitar and just like take this shit into my own hands because oh my God, like I don't know, I feel like YouTube right now especially is like so whack with type beats and stuff, so it's funny you mentioned that. But
Yeah.
it's a very important step, I feel like, when it comes to being an artist and really taking control of your music, you know?
Yeah, I mean it's like, and I mean honestly though, like shout out Tight Beats. Like I still be looking at them. I can't lie. Like it's it's definitely I think a lot of artists have like taken Tight Beats and just made something insane. So
Yeah.
definitely, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's more like when you're doing what I was doing, I would look up Lil Peep Tight Beat and be like, okay, I'm gonna sound like Lil Peep today. Like that's maybe when it's
Yeah, and that's
like a
where
problem.
that's like the slippery slope I feel like it's on now, especially like with artists like rage artists and like everyone wants to be
Mm-hmm.
like fucking
Yep.
Netspend or whoever the fuck
Yes,
these kids
bro.
are listening to, you know? I'm like, all right, let's switch it up a little. But I agree, yeah. If you take like your liberties, your creative liberties, you can have real fun with type beats, 100%.
I know 100%.
Yeah. Speaking of influences, we just mentioned some previously. I feel like we mentioned a lot actually, but I just kind of want you to go through like a list of influences that really, and it doesn't have to be musical influences. It could be like movies or like anything that really influences your art or has influenced your art in the past of significance.
So as far as influences, um, honestly, a lot of the artists that I mentioned, like Convo, Garden, 93 Free to Smoke, Fatse, like Peep, X, very early on, like basically a lot of like the early kind of I guess like emo rap era. And honestly, influences as of like now, it is a majority like the people around me, my friends. I still, like I listen to a lot of the music I used to listen to. I still am very much inspired by like the artists that I mentioned, and I'm still very much inspired by like I'll find artists that have like 100, 200 monthly that I'm just inspired by. Like there's this artist called I don't want to pronounce her name wrong, Leisha Blaze. I think she has like 200 monthly, and she's probably like I listen to the way that she does her production and vocals, and I'm just like I'm like this is just flooring me. I'm actually just going down a list of artists now.
Shout
Shrimp,
out.
shout out Shrimp. Also really big early influence. A lot of his stuff, still to me is very like influential. Like Ethel Kane. Honestly, I've just been listening to a lot of Ethel Kane recently.
Yeah,
Um, I really love like kind of that aesthetic and sounds that she's going for and like has. And then honestly, like I could name off a lot of artists, but it's really just like the people around me, people I'm listening to, my friends are probably the biggest influence to me.
that's awesome. Yeah, shout out the homies. That's cool you mentioned Ethel Kane. Shout out Ethel Kane solely on the fact that she like threatened to assassinate the president.
See, that's real. That's real.
That's real as fuck. Real as fuck. But no, yeah, and I think that's really cool. I think it's cool you have a lot of influences, and also you mentioned the homies because actually it transitions good into the next point. But no, yeah, it's cool. I really like that. I like the people you mentioned and the artists you mentioned because I could tell where it influences your music, but I could see where you obviously take your liberties with creative like creatively, and I think it's really cool what you do. Um, Moving forward though, talking about homies, I know we met through the night shift show. I know night shift right now is currently on a break, as mentioned before the pod. However,
Right.
I did want to talk about the internet community and how you guys all came to know each other and stuff like that, just to really, I think it's a good point to cover.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, honestly, if you're talking about influences too, I mean, um, Overworld, Soldaris, those are like, some of like the most solid artists that I think I've met and that I know. And definitely influenced me. I actually met Overworld about 3 years ago through Discord. I met them in there was another artist's like private server that we were all in
Hmm.
through like a mutual friend, and I had like been familiar with their music, and I was like, I really like your music. I think you're a cool person. Just sent them like a friend request, and we literally just like talked on and off. I mean, ever since then. And then I met them. I did a show in Chicago like 2 years ago, and I performed with Overworld. Like met them, talked to them
Oh
for the first
wow.
time. Yeah. So a lot of it, and I mean, same with I met Soldaris on Discord, and then that was, I mean, New York was the first time that I had ever, met him, and I mean, the first time I ever met a lot of those artists in person, but I had talked to them again, mutual friends, Discord, mutual interests, kind of like circling back to what I was saying about like community.
Right.
It's really a lot of it was just building a community through like servers, friends, like like seeing someone's song on SoundCloud and be like, yeah, I love this shit, bro. Like send me a friend request. Like, what do you Like I want to know what your process is.
Yeah, and I think that's so cool and like such like it's honestly it's like and when time passes on, like decades, we're gonna look back at this and be like, wow, this was like we were the pioneers of like this internet shit because this is like the first time that I feel like people are networking in these ways, like through servers and shit, and then like meeting up in person rather than like meeting in person, like I don't know, like the way it's always been, you know? So it's really cool. But it's good that you mentioned that, and you mentioned because I like the reason why I mentioned this whole conversation is to talk about community and friends and stuff. But I knew there was going to be some conversation when it came to like kind of like you being like you networking on the internet when it comes to like even you performing in New York. I wanted to ask how that happened, how you guys set that show up, because like oh, you're from Alabama and I know people are from
Right.
everywhere else, and it's like yo, how the hell y'all got to New York City? How'd you tap in with Bennett and stuff like that? But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I will stick to the night shift story and then we'll move forward.
Yeah. No, so I mean, night shift was just kind of like a culmination of like we were talking about working on music. We wanted to make a project. We wanted to, work with some songs together. We had worked, previously on a couple of songs. And it was like, I think we could do this as a group. I think we could really like put our heads together. And I mean, it was kind of just everybody working together to make what we were working on. And
Hmm.
as I mentioned a little bit before this, but I'll explain a little bit better. As of right now, I think everyone is kind of in a different place creatively.
Right.
Hence why we're kind of taking a little bit of a break right now.
Right.
It's love of everyone. As of right now, though, just everybody is kind of moving, in different directions, at different speeds. So I think everyone's focusing on solo music right now. Everybody's focusing on kind of what they want to achieve, what they want to do, and what their artistic like goal is.
Right.
But as far as obviously still working together, still talking, still trying to figure things out. But it's been a process. And I
Right.
think
Yeah.
that goes for kind of any artist. It is definitely a process.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I mean, like when it comes to collaborating, whether it's amongst two people or three people or five people, it's just a bunch of individual creative forces going in there. You know, obviously when you're a creator, you got the blinders on. You're going forward. You're going your vision, your direction. So for people to like, I guess, parallel to where it could work or it's compatible, it's difficult. So I understand that, you know? Um, But that's cool. I think it's really cool. I think it's really cool that you guys got all to perform in New York together despite being from different places and meeting on
Right.
the internet and stuff like that. Really cool. Um, and then yeah, so I want to talk about kind of like, and this whole conversation will bring us also into like what you're doing in the present and now, but I want to talk about like kind of to wrap up like the past. How do you get tapped in with like, doing shows elsewhere? Like you talk about meeting your friend in Chicago, you talk about obviously we met in Night Shift in New York. And you're from Alabama. It's just, real internet, real community shit. How'd that come to be?
So like you were mentioning about circling back around to it, obviously how everything happened in New York, how all that came together. Um, I've been familiar with some of shout out by the way, Hyperpop NYC. I've been familiar with some of their shows. I was familiar with Bennett, and one of the artists, Young Blasian Zach. We actually had a song together beforehand. So I was familiar with a lot of artists that were doing shows around the area, and I was familiar with, Hyperpop NYC and Bennett and them. And me, Solders, Overworld, and some other friends were like, okay, we were planning a trip out to New York anyway. One of our friends, actually had someone going up to college up there that they also wanted to meet, hang out with. So it made sense for everybody because I've been wanting to go to New York too. Everybody kind of wanted a reason to get out and go and do something like have fun and go out and meet everyone.
Right.
So me and Bennett were talking, and I was like, honestly, I think it would be awesome if we just set up a show. Like we could get something going. There would be a culmination of like, all these artists are from like Discord and like the internet, and everyone's kind of coming together. I thought it could be something, really crazy. And Bennett kind of, made that happen. Like he had the skill and foresight to actually bring together kind of like a loose thought of what if we threw like an internet show, and then
Right.
him High Prop NYC, they just made that a reality,
Right. And
and
I
that's
think
really how that came together. My bad.
it's so full circle. No, don't apologize. It's so full circle, like because you talk about like Discord and even like with the pandemic and that whole era of music was such a weird time because we were doing like virtual concerts and everyone was on the Discords and like Zoom concerts and shit like that. And so like to take like that demographic and like the internet rap or whatever you want to call it, just like it's real Gen Z shit. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like real new age shit. Taking that and bringing it into real life and culminating it into something real, I think was so awesome for you guys, and it's just really dope. Like it's really cool, and I want to see more of that. I want to see more real life shit because there's so many good artists on the internet that I feel like if they were in a scene, if they involved themselves, like coming out of their way, whether you're taking a fucking plane or a fucking bus, wherever you're
Yeah.
going, do it. It's so sick. But yeah, um, and that's cool. That's a cool conversation because now I want to talk about what you're doing now because we kind of just like really like what I like to do is keep a timeline, past, present, future to some degree, just so really
Right. Yeah.
milestone this. So we talk about, the past and how you came up with the name and et cetera, all the way to just the show that we met each other at last month. So now I want to talk about what are you really working on when it comes to music? You mentioned the EP before the interview. If that's something you want to keep hidden, I'll shut my mouth.
Oh no, I'm ready to
Um,
talk about. I'm ready to talk about it.
yeah, and so just go off, do your thing.
So I'm dropping. I don't know when. I don't know when this is dropping, but I'm dropping. The probably the last single from it. This Friday being May 31st. If you're watching this, it might already be out. If you're
Yeah,
watching
so
this,
when this comes out, it came out like 3 days ago.
oh yeah, okay. So I dropped that single Soldier. I dropped that. That's kind of leading up into the EP that I've been working on the past month. I started working on it when I got back from New York, and I've been spending pretty much every day kind of putting down rough demos and then going back over recording, remixing. Me and it's majority me and Simon M. Shout out Simon M, by the way, produced a majority of that EP, and then I'm coming in, I'm helping with production, I'm doing mixing, mastering, doing vocals. It's really much been like a collaborative process, and for a few reasons, I'm really excited. I've never really had such a hand in like production on something before that I've had on this, and I don't think I've ever been as vulnerable as I've been on this EP coming out soon. So it's called Mutt. It doesn't have an actual drop date yet. I'm still trying to figure that out.
Ooh, mystery,
Yeah,
mystery.
mystery. Yeah, probably next like, 2 months or so. I'm still trying to figure out the best time to drop. Really depends. I can't lie. I added another song to it last night when it was already done. So I mean, it might be an album at this point,
Yeah, it's still
you
under
know.
works.
Yeah, so it is coming though. It's coming soon.
I
It's just I'm
respect
still
that.
working on it.
You're giving it time to breathe, You're like really letting it come to fruition so it could be its like best work. And I fuck with that.
Yeah.
Um, and when talking about the song you're dropping this Friday, aka the song that dropped 3 days ago.
Right.
Um, I saw the visual that you put out for the promo and stuff, and I would like to talk about also like visuals and what you're working on, kind of like related to music, but outside of music, because I've seen that you have some music videos on your YouTube, and I was looking through them, and I think that's really cool. I always think it's cool when people bring other forms of media into the music because it's important for the sake of art.
Yeah.
So just talk about that in the sake of like what you're working on. Maybe, is there anything for any visuals for the EP? Is there any visuals for this new song you're dropping? Is called Soldier, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, so is there any visuals for Soldier? And is there also any visuals that you've dropped that you may want to talk about or bring attention to? Because why not?
So as far as visuals for Soldier and the EP, Soldier, there aren't really any visuals, but as far as other songs on the EP, it's coming, not yet. I don't really have, you know what I'm saying? It's still being worked on. I
All
definitely want,
blueprint.
yeah, I definitely want to do some visuals for it. As far as music videos that I already have out, I want to say shout out West Punk Media. She actually photographed a lot of the show, the night shift show in New York. Um,
I think I saw like Hyperpop post like them
yeah, yeah.
afterwards.
She's done every music video, well, except for the crawl video. She's done Dog River and then the newest one I put out that I really want to talk about for full. So shout out her. We've been working a lot pretty much on, any photo, professional photo or video I've posted has definitely been, it's been her. It's been a collaborative effort. The most recent music video though that I dropped full was actually, it was kind of a spur of the moment. I had planned to do a video for one of my other songs, Ember. I was
Hmm.
working with another videographer that was coming out, from Canada to New York.
Wow.
That didn't end up working out.
Oh
So
wow.
last minute, we ended up shooting it in the hotel. We had to leave the B&B early, so we got this hotel in Manhattan,
Oh
and it was
man.
like 2 in the morning. We had a flight the next morning at like 6 a.m. that we ended up missing.
Oh
Um,
shit.
and we were like, honestly, we're just gonna go ahead and shoot a video. And in the video, you can see it's me, and then it's Terms. Shout out Terms. They performed at the show. It was me and Terms and Danny Westpunk. All of us were just in a hotel, and then you can just see us like fucking around in the video. I think in one frame we're eating like pasta on the bed, and then we're like running around like the lobby. So I mean, that was very much like
Impulsive, but cool as fuck.
yeah, like yeah, we literally shot it and then we're like, okay, we have a flight to catch. So we ended up missing. We were in New York like 2 extra days because we shot that. We stayed up shooting that damn video.
No man, that's sick. That's fucking cool. How'd you enjoy New York, by the way?
New York was insane, probably. I can't lie. I it's crazy too because I never like I knew New York was gonna be big. Like it sounds funny to say it was bigger than I thought it was gonna be. But it really was just so much to do. I was there a week and I feel like I still didn't do like 5% of what New York had to offer.
Yeah, I mean, I think living, I mean, I'm a native New Yorker my entire life, and I think I would die before I did everything there is to do in the city because it's ever
Yeah,
growing. You
it's
know?
just it was almost like in a good way, it was just really overwhelming. I can't lie, transit's really nice. I come from a city, we have no transit. If you want to get across the city, good luck doing that.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, no, it was crazy. There was, the food was crazy. The environment was crazy, and everyone that I met out there was fucking awesome. So I mean, shout out. I definitely want to go back sooner than later.
That makes me so happy that my city really like did a good one on you, you know, you made a good impression
Yeah, no.
because and yeah, New York, it's funny because New York is big, but it's really small, but it's big. Because like on the map it looks small, so it's bigger than like what you expect it to look like compared to the map. But going to every borough and really seeing what each one has to offer will take you forever.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was. I mean, even just the time I explored there, I was like, yeah, I need to come back. Maybe another show. Maybe another show soon.
yes, yes, we need, yes, come,
So,
yes,
so
for
well,
sure.
what we're gonna see. But I definitely want to go back out there and kind of. I would love to spend just like 2 weeks out there. Yes.
What do you do in the week that you were out here?
So I can't lie, it's kind of a funny story. We were supposed to shoot a video in Times Square, and then it ended up not happening, and we tried to do it like 2 days in a row. So we went to Times Square like 4 different times in a week, which is like kind of like OD as fuck. We did my friend Ethan place did we did a pizza run through like Brooklyn, I believe, and then we explored Brooklyn, and then we stayed in Manhattan for like a day, explored around there a little bit. And then we kind of just like walked around aimlessly. I can't lie, we were kind of lost half the
That's
time.
that's what you have to do. That's the only way you can do it. There's no like setting a destination and going. It's just whatever we find.
And then actually we met up with Zach Anglasian. Met up with him in Times Square, and then he was almost like a tour guide because we were just like, yeah, like dude, we're lost. And we just kind of we were like, I can't lie, we were really on some tourist shit. Like we kind of just walked from store to store, like, wow, this is so cool. Like, oh, there's
Yeah.
neon sign, like,
Oh shit. Yeah, dead ass.
yeah, yes. I mean, definitely kind of just walked around.
That's lit. That's dope. Yeah, no, we definitely need you back in New York for a show. And when it comes to New York, Brooklyn's goated for sure.
Shout
I
out
think
Brooklyn. Shout out Brooklyn.
I think Manhattan's cool. I think everything's cool. I'm from the Bronx. I think all of it's cool, but Brooklyn's the best borough in my opinion. Don't kill me, y'all. Anywho, no, yeah, and so talking about projects and talking about videos, really exciting. I really don't know if you do anything like merch or if you're doing anything else expansive wise outside of, whatever it may be, or, even mention your photographer. So I don't know if you're doing photo shoots, but what else you got working on, or even let me better word it. What are your plans of expansion as Ghost Social? What's
Ooh, I
going
like
on?
that. I like that.
Yeah.
So as far as expansion, I did kind of a smaller physical run for my last EP that I
Mm-hmm.
dropped last year, Misery FM, through it's a smaller company called Propel. So shout out Propel. I was selling CDs with them. And then as far as I've been trying to do merch for like 2 years, solely because like even if I sell like 5 shirts, I just want some cool shit to wear that's like something that I designed. So I've been going back and forth with that, trying to do it the way that I want to do it. I just haven't been happy with anything that I've made yet.
Right.
So going forward, definitely new EP. I want to do physicals for sure. Merch coming soon. Um, and then as far as like photo shoots, visuals, everything else, it's also kind of a hurry up and wait because it all kind of depends on the direction this EP goes in because it was a EP last week and then I added another song and now it's like okay I kind of want to redo 4 songs on it and drop another song so it might
It
be
could be an album.
yeah so it's all kind of a waiting game but I definitely want to do some new shit this year I want to do some stuff that I haven't done so actually having merge physicals proper visuals for a song all that
Yeah, really have the full vision set before you execute.
right.
And when it comes to plans for the future, you know, maybe like who do you maybe some like wishful collaborations, whether like people in the scene or big people or anything of the sort, someone you wish to collaborate with or people you're collaborating with, plans in the work, anything of the sort.
So one person that I really do want to work with is honestly Garden. It was crazy. I got the follow back on Instagram like 3 weeks ago, and I was trying to like not fangirl out a little bit. But he's cool. He showed hella love. He posted a song that I did full like on his story, and I was like, oh my
No,
God.
that's so dope. Congrats.
I was like playing it cool. Like I was like, yo, bet, bro. Thank you. Thanks, gang. Like, you know
Yes,
what I'm saying?
yes,
But
yes.
yeah.
I hate that, but yes, I get it. That's
So,
so awesome.
that definitely Garden's someone that's been like a huge influence. I would love to work with them. Um, Another person, Shrimp. I mentioned them earlier. Another huge influence. I love his music. Shrimp is like kind of a dream collaboration. If I could like get a song with him, I think I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm up. Like
Stuff like that is like accomplishments beyond a accomplishment. Like, when it like 'cause when someone collaborates with you, it's like that respect and that, mutualism there. I don't know. It's just really cool. From someone you respect, from someone you look up to, it's dope. It's super dope. But yeah, I hope you get that locked in. Some collabs with Garden, the follow back
hopefully.
of the GOAT.
Hey, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. No pressure. We'll see what happens. Like,
Word, right? But nonchalantly, too funny. I love to fangirl. I don't give a fuck. I went to a concert for Fishnark,
yeah,
GDC producer, and I interviewed him prior to the concert and like we had a conversation obviously whatever and he was just speaking like he was just like, like yo, you're like, talking good about the interview and talking good about the pod and whatever and I was like, "Holy shit, this is insane." Like I super fangirled. It's like drop the ego. I'm here. Holy shit, exciting. But
yeah.
anywho, talking about future, present, thing, past the project, and with more singles, do you plan like with this project? Well, number one, how did this project even come to be before we move on from it? Was it like, oh, I'm like really set on it? Was it just kind of have a couple songs sitting around and I just want to put them together?
I really much went into it with the idea of I want to make a collection of songs that is like where I feel like I'm at mentally right now.
Right,
And I'm not sure if I even talked about the theming too much, but the project itself is kind of around taking what I believe is like the worser aspects of my own self, my own like mental kind of taking those downfalls, maybe those issues I see in myself and kind of vocalizing that in some songs. A lot of it is me, trying to take a more vulnerable approach to the
right.
music that I've been putting out. So that's pretty much where that EP is coming from. Is really just being open, being vulnerable, having something people they can enjoy, they can vibe with, they can listen to, but also kind of leave it thinking a little bit.
And that's what I like about like this like new I don't like hyperpop is like a funny term because I feel like it's
Yeah.
not the most accurate. I feel like it's like a buzzword. But like I really fuck with like this new like electronic or EDM influence or whatever because everyone has a different influence in how they get into this umbrella. But either way, I really just like this like sound of like more like dance oriented or like even like vibe oriented music where it's like good vibes, bumps, faster tempo, but the lyrics are still there and vulnerable and real and sometimes even gritty, you know? I really fuck with like this new wave that's like coming out recently because I feel like this like wave that I'm discussing in my head is like been around for like since 2020, 2019, you
Yeah,
know? And so I think it's really cool that you talk about that or you specialize that with your project because I think it's just so cool. It's such a cool contrast, you know? I
yeah,
think it's really dope.
and definitely I kind of want to add a little bit to that, when we're talking about the hyperpop scene. To me at least, I know a lot of people I think feel a way on being labeled hyper. A lot of people feel a way honestly just about hyperpop in general.
Right.
Uh 2020, 2021, 2022, even that was the scene that I pretty much was like in for the most part. I was very much inspired by artists in those scene.
Hmm.
So real quick, like shout out, obviously Gex, Quinn, Curtains, definitely like those people very much was inspired by earlier on as far as that scene. And I mean, honestly, like everything I'm doing now, I think nothing else is a culmination of like the scenes and the sounds that I came from. So when you're talking about like emo rap or hyper pop or anything like that as the ecosystem, I kind of think it's good to kind of like, I don't know, wear that on your sleeve, like show your influences and kind of like, even if I don't make maybe that particular sound that people maybe found me through, I would
Right.
like to think that I'm still wearing those influences and I'm still kind of adding something different. So maybe taking that sound and doing it in a way that is individual to me.
Right, exactly. And you know, it's like funny, like genres in themselves, like the concept of genres are funny because it's like so putting things in a box, which is like sometimes not the most helpful. But when it comes to like, oh, didn't mean to move my camera or anything. Hold on. Whoops. It's kind of helpful in the sense of like exactly like placing inspirations or even if like it's like trying to recommend your music to someone, you're like, oh, you know, I can't really put my word on what kind of music I make, but it's like this or it's like that, you know,
Yeah,
so people can really get the concept for it. I think it's cool.
yeah, no, definitely. There's definitely been times where I've like someone's asked what music I make, and I'll be like, oh, you ever heard 100 Gex before? Like when I made, more because I mean, it's they're like, oh yeah, I've heard that. I'm like, okay, well, this is something that's kind of like that, but not really.
Right. Yeah, it's like, all right.
Without explaining like hyper pop, like yeah, I don't want to call it hyper pop, but this is yeah, it's hyper pop, like
Yeah, you know, it's like, and even like, I don't know, like, you know, when the SoundCloud era was going on, like 2017, I remember
yeah,
trying to have to describe what emo rap was. And I'm like, well, it's kind of like trap, but then it's kind of like emo, but
yeah,
then it's kind of like this, but then it's not really like that one. You know, it's like, there's no trap
yeah.
element to it. It's just the 808s and hi-hats.
Yeah, and it's
So,
like half a hyper pop wasn't even hyper. You'd have some it would be like a serious song that was like pitched up vocals, and you're like, yeah, this is like hyper pop, and it's like,
yeah, it's like, where's the hyper aspect of this?
yeah, like
Or pop, you know?
yeah, like a lot of it. I mean, yeah, like a lot of it.
This,
It was just a more of a community, I think, than an actual sound. Like it was a bunch of kids coming together making like underground music.
it
You
was,
know,
yeah, exactly. If anything, things like that, yeah, exactly. Like a scene or a movement more than like, or a culture more than like a sound. I fuck with that though, because things like that is like kind of what make it's cool. That's how you really create culture. It's like punk shit, you know? Like punk is
yeah,
more than just like I think when you think of punk, I think music is not even the first thing you think of. Like obviously music's a very, very important element, but like politics and fashion and all these other aspects play into it, and, you know? So it's cool. It's cool. But not to drag along, I think now we're reaching towards like final points of the pod. I
yeah.
got a lot of good points that I want to get out. We're reaching about the hour mark. Before we do wrap up and complete the interview, is there anything that I didn't ask about or touch on that you feel like should have been spoken about? Because this is your interview. It's how you choose to be presented. So if there's anything that I missed, because I'm not perfect, you know, let me
Yeah.
know.
I mean, honestly, I think we've honestly talked about so much as far as, past, present, future. I mean, influences, ideas and concepts of like scenes and, sounds and kind of, where at least my mindset on how I approach music comes from. I think we've pretty much covered all of that.
Yeah,
And
I feel like I captured the milestone, you know, like just like the time where Ghostsocial is right now, 2024. And also like a little before, a little after to really just capture it nicely. That
yeah,
was
no,
awesome.
definitely. And I want to thank you honestly for having this conversation with me. This has been it's been great to kind of have conversation and a platform where I can actually just kind of like freely yap about stuff like this. So
Right.
definitely,
Yeah, and that's I think that's why the pod's so important and why media like media like this, like there's other people who do like media around like music scenes and shit. I think it's so important because we need to take the veil off. Like I think music, because sometimes it's so obscure and it's so deep, it creates like this real distance between consumer and creator. So I'm like, we need to take that veil back and show like, oh, this dude that I think is like a crazy mystical wizard of a
yeah,
creative, he's actually just a regular guy and he lives a 9 to 5 like me and da da da, you
yeah.
know? So it's very important.
Definitely. If there's a point that I could add real quick, if you were an artist, you need to drop the mysterious opium like aesthetic like image because you
We need
have
to get
people
rid of
people
it.
will post like blank images on their Instagram, will tab like no bio, no name, will post like soon dot 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 and like be real mysterious. Like that's like you're not Cardi, bro. Like straight up.
I think it's like the unfortunate detrimental consequence that comes from like minimalism in our culture, like
Yeah,
capitalism and minimalism. It's like, yeah, I'm super futuristic and I have a lot of money. Look at me wear all black, super weird outfit. The guy standing
yeah,
next to me looks exactly like me. We have no differences. My music's the same as everybody else's, but I have a following because it's weird. It's like sellout shit.
yeah. I mean, it's just I think that's the tagline is you're not Cardi.
Yeah,
You were an alternative rock artist. On Instagram, you're in the same scene as everybody else. Everybody's trying to grow.
right,
Just be yourself. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right. Stop being a clone.
Yeah,
Facts.
basically, yeah.
Yeah. Word up. I like that. I like that message because that's some shit I be preaching to. I'm like, yo, bro, why y'all all wearing the same fucking jeans and
Yeah.
sneakers, bro? Switch it up. Anywho,
Yeah, it's like
for real, bro, for real. Like, or when it comes to the opium, like, bro, Rick Owens is not all that. Like, I fuck with some of the shit, but
yeah.
like, come on, bro.
It's like, bro, you are, this it's like, bro, you were 17 in your bedroom, you bought that shit off Panda Buy. Like you were, you're
You
not
bought that
Cardi,
off the
bro.
Go app, bro. Cut it out.
Yeah, bro. Like, just throw on some Vans or something, bro. Just it'll
Yeah,
be alright, bro. Like,
for real, especially when it comes to like, it's just like the reincarnation of hype beast culture, for real, in my opinion.
yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah. But moving forward, last question now. Go social. What do you got going on the next day, week, month, year, decade, century, and millennium? Doesn't have to be music related. It could be what you're eating for breakfast tomorrow. Just give us a rundown.
So later today, probably, like after this, I can't lie. I don't really got anything else today. As far as, week, month, year, I want to keep working on music. I want to keep dropping, honestly, my opinion, I want to keep dropping stuff that is better than the last thing I dropped. I want to take everything that has been on my mind, everything that I've been working on, everything that I've been through. I want to put it into some of the best music that I've put out. So that's definitely upcoming this year. However, far into the future in general, I want to obviously more visuals. We touched on it earlier, more physicals, merch, anything that you could think of. I want to
Expansion.
I want to be able to expand it in a way that is true to me, but also makes sense.
Right.
Um, and then honestly, I mean, as far as that, I want to keep creating. I want to keep, just being true to myself. Honestly, I'd love to travel again this year. I definitely want to do more shows next year. I have a lot planned next year. Um, so definitely more shows, more music, and I guess more chilling, bro. More chilling, more sitting on Discord, more door dashing food to my room. Is pretty much that's the plan for the rest of this year, pretty much.
Yeah, that's dope. And it's cool that you mentioned shows for the future and next year because I would have asked about like, oh, what are your goals for shows and stuff like that. But honestly, I think you're gonna keep doing the shows. What I say is like, yo, if you're gonna do merch, sell merch at the shows. But
Yep, definitely.
more shows, more expansion. Honestly, I think you're already on such a great incline and you're just going to continue inclining. And I fuck with you heavy because of how outspoken you are, how yourself you are, and how dedicated and motivated you are. Real good work ethic and great morale and also just a great conversationalist. This was a great interview. This was a great time. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. No, thank you. Honestly, I mean, I've had fun the past hour just talking, man. Like I've just like, you know,
Fucking it up, chit chatting.
yeah,
Yeah,
fucking it up, chit chatting, bro. Real yapping, bro. Like I'm fucking with it.
hell yeah. So now, with the end of the pod, you know, we got the question over. in the future, and we got shows coming up, expansion. This was Ghost Social. So now you know. It goes a little like this. This was the Cult of Personality podcast hosted by yours truly, Mikeymcchoppa. With us today was Ghost Social. Thank you so much for chilling with me for the last hour and talking all this fun, man. It was a great time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. All their links will be in the description below, so check that stuff out, man. Check out these artists, man. I'm putting y'all on. Thank y'all for watching. I will see you next week. I don't know who I'm interviewing. Like and subscribe and all that cool stuff. And shit, free Palestine. Peace in
Yeah,
the
free
Middle East.
Palestine.
Peace out. And